Hey guys, Dr. Justin Marcacciani here. We're going to be talking about probiotics and the biggest mistake most doctors make with probiotics. Excited to dive into that topic. Before we do, please smash the like button and also subscribe if you want to get access to more of these videos, especially the live ones where you can interact with me as well. Love to see your comments down below and make sure you share this video with family and friends if you see a benefit. So probiotics, let's just kind of go over the broad families of them here just for any newer listeners. So you have beneficial bacteria, primarily in the Bifidobacter and the Lactobacillus family. So you have like Lactobacillus acidophilus, plantaris, paracasei. You have your Bifidobacter, whatever it's Bifidobacter longus, infantis, etc. So there's many different species of both. Now, I have a probiotic that I personally use in practice that I formulated. It's about 20 different species in them on the Bifidobacter and the Lactobacillus side, which are super, super helpful. And so I'll put a link down below. So when I reference clinically, that's the big major one that I've used and formulated. The other big one that you'll see a lot is Saccharomyces boulardii, which is kind of like like a beneficial yeast, but there's a lot of good benefits with that probiotic. You have improving IgA function. It can crowd out C. diff, Clostridium difficile. It can crowd out H. pylori. It can help with blasto infections. It can improve gut permeability. So a lot of good benefits with Saccharomyces. And it's great because if you have rebound overgrowth already and you take that, that can also help knock down maybe some of the yeast overgrowth or fungal overgrowth that's also there too. So pretty cool. And then you have your bacillus strains. These are like your spore-based probiotics, whether it's Bacillus subtilis, Clausii, coagulans, lichen formis. Really good. These hang out a little bit longer. Most of these strains they're transient. So they go in for a few days, few weeks, and they pass through your body. So it's something you want to maintain with. Again, you can do fermented foods, which can be very helpful, whether it's kimchi or different probiotic drinks like kombucha or a sauerkraut or fermented pickles. Again, it's going to depend upon how bad your gut is. And we'll talk about that in a minute because you could be very probiotic intolerant. So if you get probiotics and you get gassy or bloaty or brain fog or get itchy or have hives or histamine problems, you're probably probiotic intolerant and you probably want to stay away from probiotics until we do a couple of things. But we have that bacillus strain that hangs out for a couple of weeks, maybe even a month, and that can help potentiate the growth of these other good, healthy Bifidobacter and Lactobacillus strains, which is pretty cool. So out of the gate, probiotics, ideally we get them from food, right? Again, most people don't. And if that's the case, you want to be on some kind of a supplement, at least every now and then, every month or so, add a bottle in, pause a little bit. I tell patients, try to be on probiotics in your food, probiotic-rich foods. If you can tolerate that, great. And then maybe once a quarter, throw in a full bottle or two of probiotics and go from there. If you're not getting any fermented foods, then it's good to be on a probiotic supplement, at least 1 or 2 capsules at the end of the day, because our diet from an evolution standpoint probably had a lot more fermentation, fermentable foods in it. Now, in today's day and age, we have some issues. We have people's guts are way out of whack. They're way out of whack because of all kinds of extra acellular carbohydrates, whether it's in the form of processed sugar, whether it's processed flour or grains. These have really caused a lot of the dysbiotic bad bacteria in the gut to overgrow. And so we're dealing with people that have guts that have lots of dysbiotic bacteria. We also have another issue of people on lots of antibiotics. You go to your conventional MD for any little issue, guess what? You're probably going to get a prescription of an antibiotic, whether it's amoxicillin or clarithromycin or doxycycline, or hopefully not a fluoroquinolone. We know those damage tendons and cause mitochondrial issues, but I still see them being prescribed for some people. So again, not the best thing. They're going to cause a lot of damage to your gut. Again, maybe every now and then a probiotic or an antibiotic is needed, right? If you have a serious infection. But for most people, even run-of-the-mill common cold issues that could be a viral related, they're still writing an antibiotic prescription, even though antibiotics don't touch viruses. So you see these things being handed out like candy. And guess what? It's going to negatively impact your gut microbiome. Again, I'm not antibiotic. I'm not anti-antibiotic. I'm just, hey, do it when it's necessary. There's a lot of other natural things that you can do that's a good intermediary in between. So, okay, we have this overprescription of antibiotics, which is now causing all kinds of dysbiotic bacteria. Some doctors are even getting more keen on the fact, and they're actually prescribing an antifungal, a fluconazole, and probiotics at the same time because they've seen people's guts become ravaged with the dysbiotic bacteria overgrowth and the fungal overgrowth, and they know that it negatively impacts the microbiome. That's why they're putting in probiotics and antifungals too. Now, again, how I would do it typically is we really want to avoid those altogether. There's all kinds of other natural herbs we could use, whether it's berberine or golden seal or olive leaf or even silver, all kinds of great things that can be done Again, we had someone want to recommend us antibiotics for a pink eye infection because my son gets some lake water in his eye. We just squirted some silver in it. 2 days, it was gone. No problem. So all kinds of natural things that can be done. So out of the gates, people that have the big mistake most doctors make when they see patients out of the gate, one of the first things they do is they really throw lots of probiotics at them. Most people with chronic gut issues, especially if it's chronic and maybe there's motility issues, a lot of times they're going to be probiotic intolerant because they have lots of bacterial overgrowth, whether it's, I use the word dysbiosis. That's kind of a general term for overgrowth. There's a more specific term called SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I use those things interchangeably, just FYI. All right. Usually you need a breath test to kind of say, hey, this is a SIBO issue, but I just use it interchangeably. Because when you're treating things, any treatment you do works the entire intestinal tract. You can't just go in there and spot treat one part of the intestine. So everything we do generally hits the entire tube, so to speak. And so when we work with patients, a lot of times they have dysbiotic bacteria, right? They're going to be very FODMAP sensitive. They're going to have fermentation issues. They're going to maybe even have dysbiosis on a stool test, or they have a positive lactulose breath test for hydrogen or methane. They may have disruption in their motility, constipation, bloating, burping, flatulence, etc. They probably have a lot of bug imbalances that are driving all these gases. And so throwing probiotics in the mix a lot of times can make it worse. It can cause more motility issues. It can cause potentially skin issues. It can cause potentially brain fog. It can potentially cause fatigue. So I see that quite frequently where people throw probiotics at these chronic issues, and it may get worse. And many people's kind of programs on the doctor side are very cookie cutter. Oh, we always do this, we always do that. And you really have to look at each person as an individual. Now, if someone doesn't have a lot of chronic gut issues, you could probably throw a lot of probiotics at them early on and get away with it, right? The problem is when you're dealing with patients, there's a lot of things that you can do. And the question is, what is this the right thing to do at the right time? That's kind of what I always ask myself. Because when you're dealing with a patient, you have to build confidence. You have to work on getting them feeling better and also healing the underlying issues. Because if you don't build that confidence and they don't feel something, they may lose compliance. They may not think you're the right fit. They may think they're getting worse and then move on. Because the key when people are getting sick, you have to feel confident that they're on the right path or they won't be able to stick to it. Doesn't matter how great you are as a clinician. If the patient is not compliant and doing what you're saying for long enough, they will not get the results, even if what you're doing is going to help them in the long run. So we have to build compliance. That's super important. And a lot of times probiotics are going to be something that is better to add in after we've really cleaned the deck and the microbiome. We're going to be able to put these beneficial bacteria back in. And again, it's transient, I know, but just kind of go along with me, and it's going to have a much better effect. So I kind of liken it to we get the diet ready, we get the diet going, we get all the digestion better, we get motility better. That starts everything off. People that have probiotic sensitivity or intolerance, that could actually throw off the motility. Every now and then there's someone where it really helps the motility. So probiotics are always a backup if I need it. But for the most part, it's always something that comes in at the end. So we're getting the motility, we're getting the hormones, we're getting some of the energizing nutrients dialed in so we can feel better, have better energy, and then we plug in and work on knocking down the bugs. Because we have these bugs because of all the acellular carbohydrate, processed food, antibiotics, stress, because stress impacts hydrochloric acid, enzymes, and bile. So if we have chronically low levels of those, that's going to impact the foods not being digested and breaking down well. Plus, hydrochloric acid has an antimicrobial kind of byproduct. It makes it harder for microbes to grow when you have an acid kind of in the background. That's why we use white vinegar for cleaning things all the time, right? Because of the acetic acid, very helpful. So very important. We come in there, we knock down the microbes. Now we're going to have less competition for these beneficial bacteria. We're going to have less fermentation because we knock down the microbes. So these fermentable foods kind of fit into a FODMAP category, right? Probiotics are fermentable. So fructo, oligo, disaccharide, mono, and polyols, that's what FODMAPs are. So when we add more probiotics into the mix, that's going to be more essential fermentables. And if that bad bacteria is there, it could feed off it, create more gases, methane, hydrogen, even urea, so to speak, and that can cause more problems. So we have to knock those microbes down, and then we can throw down all the beneficial seeds. So we do the weeding first and the seeding second. So weeding first, seeding second. Probiotics are in the seed camp. And then we could also add in fermentable fibers, right? Prebiotics. Think of them as almost like fertilizer. That's going to help the seeds take, grow, and kind of have a deeper rooting system to it, right? And that's going to be really important. So big mistake is adding probiotics in too soon, making sure you fix the microbiome, start to starve out some of the bugs, get the motility better, get the digestion better, and then add in the probiotics at the right time. We want to pull the weeds out, then do the seeds second, right? Everyone kind of logically understands that. Plus, weeds grow automatically. So it's very important. If you were to go in and scalp your lawn, if you were to just leave it, you would have weeds growing back within a few weeks out of the gates without you having to go to the store and put down weeds, right? You would never have good healthy grass come down. You'd always have the weeds typically. So it's important that we fill up that space, right? Nature abhors a vacuum. So if we fill up all that space with good healthy seeds, those seeds help crowd out a lot of that bad bacteria. It makes it harder for it to grow back. So by putting the good healthy seeds or bacteria in, it automatically crowds out and makes the harder stuff harder to grow back. And if your diet is good and healthy and you're avoiding antibiotics willy-nilly, only using it, in very particular situations, ideally using probiotics or antimicrobials if you need to prevent that rebound from happening, that at least puts you in a better position. All right, guys, Dr. J here signing off. If you enjoyed today's video, let me know. If you want to dive in deeper because you have chronic health issues or chronic gut issues and you want to dive in deep, there'll be a link down below where you can reach out. My coordinates are below where you can schedule a functional medicine consult with myself and my team worldwide. That'll be there for you guys. Links to recommended products will be there below what I personally use with my patients. Again, any questions, put them in the comment section, guys. All right, have an awesome day. Take care, y'all.